What is going on, guys? It's Jono, and today what we're going to be talking about is how to build out a system that can automatically generate tens, hundreds, or even thousands of blog posts using artificial intelligence, right? So let's take a look at what this looks like. So in front of me, I have a make.com scenario that we're going to build out, right? And this uses artificial intelligence to generate all these blog posts. To break it down further, we have the workflow starting with make.com. Or sorry, not with make.com. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever said. We're using it, the starting point is ChatGPT. So what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, ChatGPT, can you please brainstorm a ton of different blog posts that we can use to automatically generate blog posts with. So it's gonna generate us a list of all these different blog post ideas, which is great because if you're like me, you probably hate coming up with content ideas all the time. And especially if you're doing your 1000th blog post or whatever, it just gets super tiring. So this is going to take care of all of the writer blocks that you will encounter in the future, and it's going to generate all the ideas for you. And then it's going to parse that information. So it's going to change the format into something that's a bit more legible, a bit more readable for make.com so that we can go through each one idea by idea, right? So we can generate 50, 100,000 different blog post ideas and then go through them individually. In the first step here, what we're going to do is we're going to create an outline for all of those blog posts, right? One by one. So we'll say, hey, great, we have the blog title, but let's actually make an outline. And then based on the outline in the next prompt, we're going to use that outline and we're going to automatically generate an entire blog post for that outline. In the step that's currently running right now, what we do is we say, hey, you know what, like just dumping a ton of blog posts, it isn't good enough. We want to make sure that the blog posts that we're actually writing are hitting the spot, they're ranking for SEO, right? So what we're doing now is we're making sure that all of these blog posts that are being generated are going to rank properly on Google. We're going to insert in a bunch of keywords. So we're going to get ChatGPT to research the right keywords, about 5, and insert them into the blog posts and the subheadings, headings at the the top and the H1 tag, all of that kind of stuff at the right keyword density so that your blog post has the best probability of ranking through Google automatically. And then lastly, we're going to make sure that we make sure the comprehension of the blog post is at a grade 5 reading level, just so that the majority of people that are reading it are going to be able to understand it, especially taking into account that not everyone's English is perfect. So we just want to accommodate as many people as possible, as well as making sure that it's really written like a human. So we're rewriting it again to make sure that it doesn't look like it's AI generated content. And we're also correcting any grammar, punctuation, or spelling mistakes as well. Then we're generating an image. We're going to dump that into a Google Docs file here, and then we're going to create a post in WordPress. So automatically upload that blog into WordPress and then automatically add the image that we generated into that blog post as well, so that you could literally, in the span of one button click, generate hundreds of different blogs and automatically publish them on your WordPress site at whatever cadence that you want. Let's take a look at the blog post that was just generated here. So I'm actually going to go over to this web view link and let's paste it in and see the actual blog post that was generated. So top wedding songs for an unforgettable reception. So I just put in wedding DJs as just the general theme here, just because that's the company that I run or one of the services that I offer. But you can see that it's listed in markup language, and you know it's written in markup language because you have these hashtags. These kind of denote the headings. So this would be like a heading 1, this would be a heading 2. You can remove the hashtags and the markup language, but the reason I like keeping it in is because if you have this, you can easily feed this back into ChatGPT and be like, hey, can you style like the H1s like this or the H2s like this, or can you style the paragraph like that? So it makes it super easy for you to manipulate all the data, right? And it provides structure so you know what's a heading, what's not a heading, all of that kind of stuff. So introduction, hey there lovebirds, one of the most important parts of planning your big day is picking the right music. Music sets the mood, gets people dancing, and creates memories that last forever. At ABC Company, this is something I put in just as an example. It didn't generate ABC Company, that was something I put in. We're here to make your wedding reception unforgettable. So put on your dancing shoes and let's dive into the best playlist to keep your party going all night long. And then it goes through the entire blog post and it also uploads it online. So that's pretty cool. Awesome. And then, yeah, one more time, it does pass with a 91% human generated content, which is awesome. So let's dive into how this was built, right? But before I do that, just keep in mind the blueprints are free and they are down in the description below. If you have make.com, or even if you don't, just create an account, but you can upload and use this exact blueprint that I'm giving you for free. All you have to do is come into one of these workflow builders and click more, and then where it says import blueprint, you can just import it, and then you'll have this to use pretty much immediately, right? So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna do a different style today for this video, where instead of actually building the whole thing out, I'm just gonna walk through all the different steps on how I built this, so that you can hopefully follow along with me if you do import this blueprint in. So there's a lot of steps here, right? It seems pretty complicated, but it's not. Probably the first step might be slightly the most complicated, but you can just copy and paste everything that I've done here. So what we're doing in the first step is we're using artificial intelligence to automatically, right, generate ideas, right? As many ideas as you want. So how we're doing this is we're creating a ChatGPT completion, right? So that is the method we're using. And we're just using the most up-to-date model. So whenever you're watching this, if you're watching this in the year 2300 or whatever, okay, probably not that long, but if you're watching this in the future, you'll probably want to use the most recent model because it's going to give you the best results, right? And then we have a bunch of messages here. So messages, essentially, you have different roles and you have different contexts that you're providing ChatGPT with. You're just giving it information that's useful for it to understand what it is that you want. So as long as you give it the right information, it will give you the right result that you're looking for. So in this case, the first thing that I mentioned here as a system role is just create 2 blog post titles. Now you could go through this and you could say, generate me 200,000 blog post titles, or maybe 2 million or 20 million. Okay, that's a bit excessive, but I'm just gonna stick with 2 for now because I don't want this to go overboard while I'm in the testing phase and just showing you what this looks like. Awesome. And then the next message is going to be an assistant. So we're just providing additional context to ChatGPT. And this is the most difficult part, but once again, you can just copy and paste it and it's all going to be down below. So in the assistant, we just want to make sure that when ChatGPT delivers these ideas, right, it delivers it in a way that is structured as JSON, right? JSON is a way of formatting information and it looks just like this, right? So you got these square brackets, which represents an array, and then you have different ideas, right? So idea 1 that it generates is going to go here. Idea 2 that it generates is going to go here. And these are all maintaining blog idea, right? So if you were to generate another one, if there was like 3 that ChatGPT was generating, what would happen is it would kind of look like this, right? So blog idea number 3. So you could just keep going down and down and down. And this is the format that you want ChatGPT to essentially give you the responses in. And you just want to make sure as well that it doesn't provide any additional text above that. For whatever reason, ChatGPT always likes giving like a superficial like one-liner right before, being like, sure, no problem, Jono, I can help you out with that, all good. And then it goes into JSON and it screws up the whole format. So you just want to make sure that it doesn't have that in there, so that we can process the data efficiently. And the last assistant here is we're just making sure that when it does give us these ideas, we don't want it to be like best idea of 2020 X or name or whatever. We want to make sure that all the information is freaking filled out so that we don't have any templates coming in here. And then we publish it automatically and we just cringe because we uploaded something that was completely AI generated, and it very obviously looks like that as well. Oh, and we have one more assistant down here, and this is just providing the context of the particular blog post that you want. So this is something you guys will need to change, but just make sure these blog posts are related to high traffic keywords that can rank for SEO. So we're offering wedding DJ services, so you just change this out to whatever it is that you think is most applicable for your business, and are looking to get our blog posts in front of in front of, I don't even know what I was trying to say there, but apparently ChatGPT did when it generated these ideas. But potentially getting married, so it's trying to get our content in front of people that are trying to get married for a wedding or attend a wedding, and we can cover any high traffic keyword related to music and weddings or DJing. And then I just provide some examples, right? And it's important when you do provide examples that you give it a wide range of examples, right? Just so that it really understands the breadth of the topics that it can cover, right? If you make this too narrow, what's going to happen is it's going to stick to only a limited amount of results, and all your blogs are going to be very similar. But if you widen this up and you give it like some examples that are in completely different domains, right? So for example, just as this, you know, top wedding songs to play at a wedding, and then we're saying, hey, talk about an artist, right? Or maybe you want to talk about a genre, or maybe a decade, or maybe like a question on how, if you should tip a DJ, or what's the cost of a DJ, or general questions, right? So you're just giving it a wide breadth of questions so that the responses that it generates are going to be as unique as possible, while also being high quality for SEO purposes as well. So in the actual output here, you can see that it did return that JSON format, and it just replaced the ChatGPT response boilerplate with the blog idea that it generated, right? So blog idea number 1 is top wedding songs for an unforgettable reception. Blog idea number 2 is how to choose the perfect wedding, DJ tips and tricks. Cool thing is you guys don't have to touch this JSON. If you download the blueprint, you can literally just use it out of the box and it's going to work. Second step is that we just want to take the response that we get from ChatGPT and parse that JSON, right? And what parsing is doing is it's just taking it from this kind of like, if you're not familiar with JSON, this scary kind of format where it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And it just provides us with the exact results that we want, right? So we're just taking out the exact titles of all of these blog posts, right? And what we're doing in the next step is we have an iterator. And this iterator is going through every single one of these blog post ideas. So we're going through blog post idea 1, then after that's completed, then blog post idea 2, and so on and so forth. So we're going through them one at a time so that now we can get to the process of actually building out all of these blog posts. I do have a filter here. This is just for test purposes. I would definitely remove this once you're ready to rock and roll. But the problem is when you're testing, I don't want to be testing with 10,000 results because it's going to take forever to go through the testing period. So I just want to test with 1 or 2, make sure everything's good to go, and then cancel out after that. But once you're good, then you can just remove that. Now we get into the actual content creation part. So we're chunking this out into different steps, right? The first step is that we want to generate an outline. Now, theoretically, you could just go straight into generating a blog post, right? And you can skip the outline. But the reason I like generating an outline is because it provides a lot of structure, and then you can emphasize, hey, based on this really good structure that we've created, I want you to actually dive into a lot of information on every single one of these points, right? So the more information you provide it with when it generates the main blog post, the better it's typically going to be. I find that if you just say, hey, here's a random blog post and go create it, what ends up happening with the AI is it just doesn't do as good of a job, right? Because it's not anchored to all these little pieces that it should be creating, and therefore it's usually shorter. It doesn't sound as good. So in my opinion, I just like having an outline first. So same kind of deal here. We're creating a chat completion, and then we're going to choose the model GPT 4.0 or whatever is the most recent model by the time you're watching this. And we just want to make sure that we have a message here where we're creating a blog post outline for this blog post idea, and we're passing in the value from this iterator, right? So whatever we effectively, whatever blog post we're currently working on at this moment in time, it's going to go through one at a time. We're going to pull in that value and we're going to say, create a blog post outline for this blog post idea. So the first one would be, for example, if we go to the output here, it would be top wedding songs for an unforgettable reception. And the second blog post outline would be for how to choose the perfect wedding DJ, tips and tricks. Okay, cool. And then we have another assistant here, which says, make sure to use Markdown on the outline. And this is something that you guys can change to. If you don't want Markdown, you can just remove it entirely, and just make sure that you add in any particular information that you want here, right? So you're gonna have to improve this over time and go through and just make sure that it's attuned to your industry, to your niche, to the blog post that you're writing, right? But just as an example, what I said here is make sure to have lists in bunches of 3 or greater. If a section is oriented around a list, then provide at least 10 items to that list, unless it's not possible. For example, if the list is top hits from the 90s, you'll want to provide more or 10 or more song choices. Max tokens here is 600. This is just essentially, once again, how long the response can be. And once that is completed here, we can take a look at the response, and it's just going to give us a nice outline to work with, right? On the next chatgpt module, we're going to take that outline and we're just creating a blog post from it, right? So create a chatgpt completion, same kind of deal as before. We're going to use GPT, the same model, and this time in the system, we're just saying create a blog post around this topic, and we're passing in that response that we got from the outline, right? So we can see the outline is generated here. We're passing that in to generate the entire blog post, and with the assistant, we're making sure that we're using Markdown on the outline. And this is important to make sure that the length of the blog post is a certain amount. Typically speaking, you don't want your blog post below 500 words, because if it's below 500 words, it's going to have a hard time ranking. But usually for me, I think like 1,200 is a safe amount. Typically, you'd want to take the average of the top 3 or 4 or 5 blog posts that you're competing against to see how long their average length is and choose that. But just because it's a bit more complicated here, we're just going to choose the number 1,200. And then, yeah, same kind of deal here. Just make sure the lists are in bunches of 3 or greater. And if the particular section, which is like, section number 1 of the blog post, or section number 2 or section number 3, kind of everything in between the conclusion and the introduction, if it's oriented around a list where it's like, hey, here's like the top songs from the 90s, right? Just make sure that it's at least 10 songs or more, because you don't want to be like, here's the top songs from the 90s and give like 2 examples. It's just obviously going to be falling short. And then also just making sure that there's no custom variables that aren't complete. So for example, you don't want to leave it as 2020X or your name or whatever, because if you publish that and somebody reads that, they're going to be like, what the hell is going on here? Why are they saying your name? And they'll probably know it's written by AI, which is defeating the whole purpose here, right? And then also just providing additional context about your company here. So you can put in your company name, your industry, which is, in my case, it's wedding DJs. The objective is just to provide very informative blog posts to potential clients looking to hire wedding DJ services, and the tone of voice, which is also important. So it's fun, it's lively, it's engaging. I want it to be funny at times and have it seem as though you're smiling while writing the blog post. That's important, right? To provide it with the right tone of voice that captures how you want your blog posts to be written. And then max tokens, you can put whatever you want, but ideally the higher the better here. So I just put 2,000, but even that might cut it off depending on how long the blog post is. The next module, once we create that particular blog post, is we want to make sure, oops, I think I just clicked on the same one twice here. Yeah, I did. The next one after that is we want to rewrite this blog post, and we want to make sure that it's SEO friendly, right? Because it's not just enough to write blog posts. Like, you're not going to pump out 100 blog posts just to have 100 blog posts, right? Probably unlikely. Rather, you want to pump out 100 blog posts so that you can ideally get as close to rank 1 on Google as possible, so that you can outbeat your competitors, get more traffic, and then ideally either get more sales or leads or both, right? And that's why we need to optimize this blog post for SEO. And how we're going to go about doing that is just rewriting it in a friendly SEO manner. So we're going to provide additional context here, and you can add in as much as you want, but just for myself, I make this blog post SEO friendly by including 5 different keywords in this article could rank for, incorporating these 5 keywords with a keyword density of about 3 to 5%. For example, if this blog post is 1,200 words, there should be between 36 to 60 keywords in the blog post. Make sure that the top keyword is in the header title and found in the first 150 words of the article, and make sure that there are at least 3 headers with the keywords in them. right? So we're just kind of following basic on-page SEO principles and going through them one by one and just making sure that, you know, the blog post is structured in an SEO friendly manner. And once we do that, we kind of tie the whole blog post together just by making sure we rewrite it to make sure we're getting rid of grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes. We're writing it at a grade 5 reading comprehension, and we're also making it appear more natural so that it has the appearance of being written by a human instead of artificial intelligence, right? So that's the final step. And then once we have all of that wrapped up, we can go ahead and generate an image, right? Same kind of deal as before. We're using artificial intelligence to do this, but and we're still using ChatGPT, but instead of creating a completion, right, we're just using DALL-E 3, which is going to automatically generate an image for us. And what we want to generate that image on is the initial value here, which is the blog post title. So if we just kind of scroll down, this is the value that we got from the iterator here. And if we just look at the values back here, it'll be the blog post title. Awesome. So we're generating an image based on that blog post title. And this one's pretty straightforward. 1024 by 1024. You can change the size of the image if you'd like, and the quality of the image and the style. I prefer natural, but it's up to you. And the only thing you have to make sure you do is make sure that the response format is image file. And if you can't see this, you have to click on the advanced settings down here and scroll down until the response format is image file, or else it is not going to work. Now, once we have the image generated, what we're going to do is we're going to choose create a document in Google Docs, and we can just go ahead and name it blog post : and then the name of the blog post. We can insert the content here from ChatGPT, and then we can close that and save it, and it's good to go, right? So it's going to generate a article for us straight in Google Docs. And the last step here is we're going to upload this straight into WordPress. Now, you do need to have an API key for WordPress in order for this to work properly. And how you can do that is you can go into your plugins and click add a plugin here. And you're gonna type in make.com, right? Simple enough. And just scroll down until you see it here. And then you can activate this plugin. Once you activate the plugin, you can go into it, which is just down here, and it's actually going to tell you your API key immediately. So you can just come right in here, and it's going to tell you your API key right there, right? So you can use that API key, and from there, you'll have access to your make.com account or your WordPress account in make.com. And you can simply just go ahead and upload this this blog post straight into WordPress. So you can put the title, you can put the content, and then I just chose the type as a post. The date is now, and then the slug, which is the URL, right? It's like, you know, whatever is coming up here. We just want to make sure that we put the title in here. But for the title, we need to have this special this function here, this replace function. So if you come in here and you go to the A here, it's replace here, and then you just put the value of the blog here, which can also be found by just scrolling down here and clicking value, right? And we want to make sure it's a space that we're replacing, and we're replacing it with a dash, right? And instead of actually just putting like hard coding a space in there, we actually need to tell make.com that it's a space by putting in the special case here, space. And what this is doing is it's replacing all the spaces by dashes. So if I said this is a wedding, it's going to replace the spaces with dashes instead. And this will be our slug for our website, which is cool. So it's automatically generating that for us. We're setting it to draft. I mean, you can publish this automatically if you want to, but personally, I'd definitely read over it at least once before publishing it probably. And then that's pretty much it for creating the post. And the last step here is to just update the post by adding this image straight into the post, right? So when you create the media, it's gonna automatically by default choose OpenAI. You're going to want to map this. It's going to give you these two results. And for the file name, you just want to make sure the file name is not the default there. Otherwise, it's always, every time you do this, every single image will have the same file name, and every blog post will be using the same image. So every image has to have a unique name. Otherwise, they're all going to share the same image. So how you can do this easily, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but I think just probably the easiest way would be, once again, getting the title here and just getting, just having that title as the name. So we're going to go in here and we're going to click replace. And what we're replacing is the title, which can be found in the value section of that iterator. And we're going to replace the space here. And we're replacing it with a dash, and we just have to put PNG, the file type, at the end here, right? So it needs to know which file type to save it as, and then we are good to go, right? So once we do that, we're good. And then you just want to link it back to the right post that you made. And it's going to be the only thing you can click under WordPress here, which is the post ID to reference, so that you can update that post with that new media. And once you publish it, it's going to automatically have that image that you're using, right? So if I just refresh this page really quickly here, it should automatically have that image on the side. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to exit out of this, and we're going to open this up again, and the image should be right here. Okay, sweet. So we have the image, we have the blog post, and we can just publish that or manually update it, right? The choice is yours. Like, you know, you can automatically publish these, but because you're saving so much time, I'd almost recommend just taking a once over just to make sure that the content that you're pushing out, you know, it's good and you're happy with it and you're proud of the work you're putting out there. And just keep in mind, right, when you are ranking these blog posts, content is king, right? So if the content that you put out there is amazing and people love it and they're like, wow, like I'm gonna continue to read this and go all the way down to the bottom and have a long page or time on the page, have a low scroll depth, low bounce rate, maybe, you know, all the key metrics that Google's looking for. If you're knocking those out of the park, your SEO is going to go through the roof. You're going to get more visitors to your page, higher click-through rates to your blogs. Your whole domain is going to rise as a result of that. And you're also going to get more sales, and you're also going to generate more leads, right? So the whole idea here is, of course, this is a great first step, but you also need to make sure that the content that you put out there is something you're proud of, and that not only you love, but the people visiting are going to love and stay for a long time as well. And if you do that, then you're going to rise to the ranks of SEO and get the results that you are looking for. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked content just like this, I will be releasing a video pretty much just like this one almost every single day. So please make sure to subscribe down below. It helps me out a lot, and it also makes me know that I'm doing a good job. Also make sure to give me the thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.